Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Nnaishi from the Cap City, Pitori Masangini, and welcome to the Grounded and Fearless podcast, the podcast that is just for you. On this show, we are all about spreading love, life, and growth, as well as discussing unpopular truth. If you are new to the show, do the most, subscribe and follow. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for the love. We really appreciate the support. And without any further ado, let's get straight to the episode. Enjoy. Hello, beautiful people. Quick disclaimer before the start of the episode, and that is all information that is shared on today's episode does not constitute as financial advice. It's only for educational purposes. Should you require financial advice, please contact a registered financial broker. Thank you. Enjoy the episode. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to yet another episode of the Grounded and Fearless podcast. On today's episode, we have a phenomenal young man by the name Ivyn Sambo, and he'll be sharing with us some valuable knowledge and the journey that he's been through in his in this short time that he's been living. Because the knowledge he has is just so unbelievable, and the passion that he has for what he does is something that I admire so much. Ivyn Sambo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I truly appreciate it.
No, I mean, the pleasure is all ours. Would you tell us, who is Ivyn Sambo and what is, your story?
So Ivyn Sambo is a typical small town man. I'm born, raised in Nelspruit. My story is, I always fail to fully introduce myself and how to introduce myself. So I always say I'm just a young man that loves reading, that loves understanding things. And luckily I found investments, I found finance interesting while studying law, while interested about public administrative law. And I just found those two field interesting and started creating content around it. So that's it. I always feel I'm not good at introducing myself. I think that's my weakest point. But as we go along with the interview, I think people will pick up what type of person I am.
Yeah, I understand. I think with that question, tell us about yourself is the worst way to put someone on the spot. And it's like when they ask me what's my fun fact, I'm like, guys, what is fun to begin with? But anyway, you say you're studying law and at the University of Western Cape, and if I'm not mistaken, it's your final year. Can you please share and tell us how your experience has been to where you are today?
Now, so I'm doing the 5-year LLB program, right? And this is my final year. And I have to say, man, this has been one of the most amazing journey. Number one, I'm in one of the universities that is called an underdog, one of the most underestimated universities in whole of Africa. And one thing I have to say, for the past 5 years I've been here, it has been one of the most amazing journey. And I've been able to build myself up as a character, as an individual, and be able to build myself up as well as a brand because of the support, because of the structure of this university. And it has been an amazing journey for myself, I have to say, and I'm truly, truly enjoying it. And I'm sad to be in my final year, but at the same time rejoicing to be in my final year. So sometimes we want to stay longer in this university space, but we can't. We need to grow. We need to spread our wings to other fields as well. But man, I said it has been one of the most amazing journey. And I said I had to build myself up as an individual, build myself up as a brand within the space, and the support I've received from my fellow students and university has been one amazing support and one amazing journey.
No, that's awesome, man. I relate with you when you say, we fall in love with our universities because you don't want to leave there because there's so many memories that you've made and you've grown so much that it becomes close to us and becomes part of who we are. And I relate with you all the way, brother. And what would you say to a younger self? There could be someone out there who is on a similar journey as you are and probably in their first or second year. So what would you say to your younger self given the opportunity?
Don't change anything. I'm one of those people, if you would give me an opportunity to go back in time or take a time machine and go to the future, I think I always choose going to the future and just enjoy life, man. I do never ever regret anything. And I think my younger self moving into this university, let me share a little bit of a story, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I'm a little bit older than I'm a little bit older than people who are doing the final year, right? I'm 25,
Yeah.
and technically, someone doing final year is supposed to be 23, meaning I'm behind, but I'm behind by 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And I always tell people those 2 years is 2 years of hard lesson I learned during my days, but I failed in primary school, and failure that came with that, the lesson that came with me repeating grade twice when I was still in school, it sharpened me so hard. It structured me to be the individual that I am today. And I always, I'll never regret it. And that's why I say, like, if I had to speak to my younger self and just say, don't regret anything, embrace every single thing you've learned in life and just keep on moving. And I think that's part of my story. That's part of who I am. Keep on moving, and I just appreciate that.
No, thank you for sharing that story with us. I think it's very uplifting, to know that we learn from our mistakes. And I agree with you when you say you wouldn't change anything, because for me, what I believe in when I think of the past, I think that if we like the person who you are today, we shouldn't change your past, because had you had a different past, the chances are you wouldn't be the Ivyn Sambo that we know and we love today. So I think the important thing is to accept the past and to accept its lessons and just move on and not stay in the past, but look forward, as you're saying, to go to the future and enjoy the future for what it has. Yeah, I resonate with you so much on that story. And thank you for sharing the story, because I think you don't need to ask us about sharing, because we all about sharing stories on this podcast. We want to know your story.
Yeah.
So now I want to go into something that you're very passionate about, and I want to ask you a quote or a question that I came across from the book, The Psychology of Money. I want to read the book. I think it's very interesting. This is someone who was reflecting on the book, and the question is, our attitude towards money affects the way in which we spend it. So do you agree or disagree with the statement? And what is your, can you elaborate further?
I believe money is like any other relationship we have, right? We need to treat the same way you will treat any relationship you are going to have. So for me, the way I see money, is the psychology around money, is that if you are positive towards it, it's going to be positive towards you in terms of how you spend it. If you respect it and treat it to the level of humanity you will treat someone else, it will do the same towards you, because there is a mental or psychological way that money deals with. I don't know how to put it into psychology, but there's that thing, man, that money has toward us. And for me, I tend to behave as if money is like a language, do you understand? Because I believe we use money to communicate as people. We use money to tell a story as people. We use money to document our existence in this world. So that's how I see it, and that's how I behave towards it. And I believe the longer or the better way you find, that relationship, the better ways you find how to treat that relationship, the better way you'll find and easy for you to spend money, the better ways you'll find easy for you to grow money, invest money, spend money, save money, because you have a good psychological relationship to it. And at the same time, I believe that if you're willing to spend money, you're willing to earn money. It may not make sense right now, but
can you repeat that?
if you're willing to spend money, you're willing to grow money, you're willing to, it's this form of you must take it out in order for it to come back. But I'm not saying misspend it. I had a thing with me. I'm not sure those who follow me on Instagram always see I go out, I enjoy myself, and it's been a culture for that. The more I spend money wisely, the more so I come to me wisely and place itself in wise ways. And I can't put the language to it, literally I can't put language to it, but that has been my psychology to it. And I believe, heavily believe that you must be able to do that. You must be able to have a positive relationship with money for it to stay, for it to grow, for it to come more, and be willing to. But sometimes you find people are so minimalist, they want to be minimalist around money, they don't want to spend, and they don't live life, man. Because money, as I said, money is a language. Money is a way of communicating. Money is a way of documenting your history here on earth. The more money you spend wisely, the more story you are telling. People see and people be able to say, yeah, I even did 1, 2, 3. I even did like this. I even lived like this. Because you are recording your story using money, and that's how you must be able to see it. So that has been my psychology. Like, money is a language. Money is a way of documenting your story here on earth, and you must treat it as such. And the more you respect it, the more you treat it wisely, the more you treat it with humanity, the more your story is positive on this world, the more your story makes sense in this world, the more your story is able to motivate and positively motivate other people and uplift mostly those people of ours who come from the township, because the township has a negative culture around using money wisely. So if you're able to use it in a positive manner, your story, your documentary will be told in a positive manner as well.
Yeah, I'm really like flattered by you, what you just said now. Honestly, I've never actually come across someone or anyone who's like put money in that, the way you explain it now, that money is a language that you can use to tell your story as well. That, you know, the way you use money says a lot to people. Like, it tells us who you are in some way, and that one day when you're gone, we will look at that and say, you know, Nnaishi did 1, 2, 3 and stuff like that. So like, money is like a pen that you can use to also edit, you know, the biography that you have on this world. Very interesting. Like, I like your way of thinking when it comes to money. It reminds me of, like, I think when you spoke about you need to spend it in order to receive it. I remember Steve Harvey was saying, you know, he has this motivational talk at the end of his show. He was saying he had like this old car parked in the garage, and then he told his mom, one day I'm gonna buy a new car. I'm gonna buy a new car. And then his mom is like, you'll never buy a new car because the space for the new car is occupied by the old one. So now it's like, if you are living your life without wanting to spend the money that you have wisely, how are you making space to receive more money? Because your hands are closed, because you're holding on to the money you have so tightly. So I resonate with that so much. Some great nuggets that you're sharing there, nuggets of wisdom. And, you know, I think like the attitude towards money also comes from a lot of different places. Like, sometimes goes by how we were raised. Growing up, that kind of affects the attitude and relationship we have with money. But I think it all boils down to the individual in terms of, do you want to stay stagnant in life, or do you want to expand and seek out more knowledge and grow as an individual? And you're very your YouTube channel is very diverse but limited in terms of, not limited but specific. I mean, in terms of what you produce. You produce about financial literacy, budgeting, saving, and investing, right? So I want to ask you a question that, what do you think are the challenges, or why is saving and budgeting sometimes a challenging thing for some students or individuals, basically?
The question touched on two different fields, which is investing and saving. I'll have to separate them. So let's start with saving in general. Saving is a human habit. It's a human cultural thing that must be developed. It is not a thing that must be like taught. It can be taught, but I believe human behavior and human of doing it over and over again individually makes you better at it. The more you have experience in it, the more you see people do it around you, the more you become better at it. So I think the reason young people, more specifically us black people, have a challenge with this, because number one, we don't have access to disposable income to save, first of all. Number two, people around us never had the culture to do that, because they themselves have a lot of problems that they're struggling with. So saving is seen as a privilege, and being seen as a privilege now mentally is engraved to us that it is a privilege. So we grew up thinking and knowing that saving is a privilege. So that's the first two things that we need to fight and try to unlearn. And I think the more that you start doing it, even how small it is, over the long term, it becomes a part of your human behavior. Because you'll never master saving. You'll never been able to be 100% a saver unless you practice it. You'll never learn, no matter how many books you read. I always tell people, books around saving are not that much helpful until you practice it and it becomes part of your normal day-to-day behavior. The same way you know at what time must I have my cup of coffee is the same way you must behave around saving as well. So let's remove saving. That's ended there. But in terms of investing, I think investing is more of a gatekeeping thing. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Investing has so much element that have been gatekept and kept in one group and information not shared around. But investing is all about information and the behavior itself. It's about knowing where to put your money, how to put it there, and how long must you put it there, and what is to understand before you put it there. So there's so much information needed around that. That's for many years around the black community, the knowledge had been gatekept by few people, and the rich and the ones who are educated. And the other thing as well, that around investing at the same time, the gatekeeping has been meant that people are not educated, they're not going to understand it. And there's so much big language used around investing that's why today I feel the need that when we talk about investing, let's simplify, let's make it easy to understand. Let's use simple English. Let's remove hard jargon. Let's make it understandable for a guy sitting in the corner street of our township with zero education, able to understand what the hell is a share, how does a share work. So that's why I believe investing, before you can even talk about the behavioral side of it, is the educational side that needs to be broken down. And that's why I push the content I push, because I believe we need to simplify it to the T, to the bone, so that even people sitting in the corner streets of our township can be able to understand what the hell is a bond. Why do I need to buy a bond? Most of the time people think of a bond, they think of a house bond.
Yeah,
what the hell is
true.
a bond? How can you break it down? What the hell is equity? Why is equity important to everyone to have? What the hell is like, all those things need to be broken down in a simple language, and that's why I feel the need to do that. And that's why I believe we must be able to simplify it, and we need more people to simplify this level of content, if that makes sense.
It really does. So what I'm getting from you is that saving is a culture that is a culture or a habit that needs to be developed, and it's something in us as human beings, but we need to be willing to learn and practice it. And it's difficult based on your situation, because, as you mentioned, the challenges that our parents might have come across growing up because of the people that depend on them. But once you start practicing the habit of saving, it starts growing in you as an individual, just like how when to have coffee or when to go to the gym if you're a fitness fanatic and stuff like that.
You see it like that.
And that's one thing I really love about your YouTube content, is that it's so simplified that, if you just give it the time and you actually listen and you take part, you can understand things better. Because most people that I know, like they'll be like, if you win $1 million, what are you gonna do now? I'll invest it. And I'm like, how? And then that's where the conversation stops. They don't even know where to go to invest their 1,000 rand, 200 rand, because you get there, they tell you all these fancy terms, bonds, shares, equity. Like, you're like, what is all of that? And then by the time you leave there, you're like, I don't even think this is for me. So yeah, I really admire that about you, and why you do it. It's really a good thing, and I think we need more people to do that, as you are saying, so that we can broaden the reach and to give everyone like the opportunity to not to limit themselves, but to actually learn and to improve as an individual. So now I want to put you in a scenario. So my scenario is basically this: I'm a student and I have some money left with me randomly, and I don't know what to do with it. Right? I have 100 rand left or whatever amount. So what do you think I should do with it? Save it or invest it, and why?
I think save it or invest it. I think it's based on what goal you have. If that's extra disposable 100 rand that you do not have any need for it for the next, let's just say the next 6 months or to a year, then invest it. Literally invest it. But you have a need for it in the next month or in the next 2, 3, 4 months or a year, then save it. And I think that the first thing, when are you going to need that money back? If I answer that question, if it's going to be longer than a year, then invest it. It's going to be shorter than a year, then save it. Well, those are important two things to do. That's why I'm always against people who are like, why the hell will you save money if you can invest it and earn big money? I'm like, investing's long term. Don't ever put money that you want to use within 6 months and invest it. You'll cry and you'll cry you'll cry heavily. So let's just say if you're a student and you're needing under a year, then save it. Above a year, invest it. And if I have to put, let's say example, where will I invest it for myself? I think I'm more of an aggressive investor. Especially this year, I'm more aggressive. Last year, I used to see that more as moderate, too aggressive. I used to sit in between of moderate and aggressive. I think this year I want to be more aggressive, so I take more risk. So I think I'll pick. If it's 100 rand, maybe I'll put 60 rand of it on stocks. Then I'll put 40 rand, and I'll put 20 rand into ETFs. I'll choose ETFs. 20 rand, and the other 20 rand I'll put it into crypto. I'm not more a crypto guy, but I love having crypto around. So I think 20 rand will go into crypto, another 20 rand will go into ETFs, which are exchange traded funds, and I'll pick mostly a international one, maybe the S&P 500. Then the other 60 rand will go straight into domestic stocks. Maybe I'll just split around there. If I had to say which stocks are in that 60 rand, let me think. Yeah, also, I'm saying which stocks in that 60 rand will be me now trying to understand how long do I want that money to be. But if I had to pick, I would think I would go with Capitec. No, not Capitec. Oh shit, why am I mentioning Capitec? I'm not a fan of Capitec. I'll not buy Capitec, by the way. Hey, people know me. I'm good if you have Capitec, but the Capitec's not made for me. I would think I'll go with Cash Build. I think I'll buy shares of Cash Build. I'll buy shares of Renergy. I'll buy shares of which other company? Let me think. People Group as well. And lastly, I'll go with Sibanye Stillwater. I think those will be the companies I will spend that 60 rand on. But it will be based on how long I want to invest that 60 rand. So that's it for me. I think that's how I can do it. But if it was short-term things, I'll just put all that 100 rand into just saving. Yeah.
Okay. So I think it boils down to depending on when you need the money. If you don't need it for like over a year, or you don't need it at all, if you have that opportunity and the privilege, and then investing is the way to go. If you might need it, save it, and then
save it.
I know I'm putting you in the spot here, but you mentioned some heavy terms, the ETFs, stocks, bonds. People are like, what the hell is ETF? So. And if you just one sentence, or if you can just elaborate
ETFs are just basically a basket. Think of a basket, and then think of that basket having different shares or different commodities or different asset classes. Let's say, for example, there's a basket that has gold under it, and when you buy that basket, you buy all that gold that's inside that basket. And ETF is basically just like, can be even a basket that has shares of different companies into one. So when you buy one share of that basket, you buy all those shares of those companies that are under it. It can be the top 500 biggest companies in America, which is the S&P 500. And when you buy one share of that basket, you're buying all the 500 biggest companies in America: your Tesla, your Google Alphabet, your Facebook, which is aka Meta, useless name by the way. Whatever company it is, you're buying it under when you buy that one basket. Yeah, that's it. An ETF basically in short term.
Okay, I think we all understand it. So thank you for explaining that. So basically, you say should you invest, you'd also diversify your investment. And so you can see where you can put it. And I think I also want to mention something that we shouldn't take what Ivyn says as like,
yes, please.
But like I understand what you're saying. So it's very important. I think it boils down to knowing what you want to do with the money and what your plans are. And then also, should you want to invest, take the time, get the knowledge, read what you can, and then know what you want to put your money in. Okay. Next one, do you think savings for everyone, since you said you should save?
Yeah, savings mandatory for everyone. This may be hard truth to swallow, but saving is mandatory for every single individual. But not everyone is born as a natural saver. Because I believe there are two groups of people. There's some people who are born a natural spender. Spending comes natural to them. And there are people who are born naturally as savers. They are just good, naturally speaking, to save money. And those people sometimes they struggle a lot in terms of spending money and buying things, acquiring assets for themselves, and even growing as individuals. But they always want to keep everything amongst themselves. They must keep it, want to own and keep everything without even seeing a level of growth into it. So those people are also struggling, like the people who are natural spenders. But I do believe you must be able to save for yourself. You need to have an emergency savings account. You need to be able to have a level of protection, and savings offers you protection. That's why I always say people never aim to invest money without having a level of protection. But when days are dark, you are going to run and take your investment out. And you're breaking it. Investments all long term. The longer you stay in your investment, the more money you make. So if you don't have savings, you end up taking money in and out of your investment. So I believe heavily that savings are mandatory for everyone, and everyone must have a level of savings, whether it's through an emergency fund, which is money you save up for emergency, or money you save up for a specific goal. But you must have savings. Like, that's the one thing you must have.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's also like important just to mention that people will be like, if I make more money then I'll save. But my understanding is that if we kind of struggling to manage the little that we make, it's kind of difficult to assume that when you make 10 times more, you might have the knowledge and the skills, because as you mentioned earlier on, saving is a habit that you need to train and improve on. So even if you save 10 rand a day and you consistently saving 10 rand a day, when you move up in life, you move up with your savings plan as well. So yes, 10 rand doesn't seem like much, but the focus is to improve the skill and the habit of saving. And then as you grow up and as you move up in life, you also move up with your habit as well. I think that's something I take away from this whole conversation in terms of saving, that no amount is too small to save. I'm pretty sure you agree with that.
100% agree with you on that one.
And my question is with all that you've learned and the journey that you have gone through with financial literacy, how has all this financial literacy and knowledge impacted you as an individual?
Oh, that's a heavy question. Let me think. That's a heavy question. I think the one big impact is realizing my privilege and realizing where I stand. I think we all individually have a certain level of privilege that we do not recognize and we do not see. And we behave in a certain way without realizing that it's not you speaking, but it's the privilege speaking. I think over the years, creating content, creating a level of simplifying financial education content, I realized that sometimes I'm speaking from privilege, sometimes I'm speaking because I am not because of privilege of money, but in terms of the knowledge I hold, that I may speak with ignorance. And that's one thing I've been able to grasp by and able to check as I go along. Where do I stand? And that thing as well brings me down to my humanity and be able to stay rooted, stay grounded, because literally, the more content I create, the more level of privilege I see I have compared to my audience, compared to the people who follow me, compared to the people that consume my content. And I must always be able to ground myself, humble myself, so I can be able to stay in touch with what they feel, with what level of experience they have, and be able to grow. And I think that's the one thing that's been able to keep my content relevant, to be able to keep me relevant as a content creator as well. That I'm able to always bring myself down to the level of the people that follow me, to the people that subscribe to my channel, to people that support and grow who I am. So I think that's one of the biggest things I have learned as a content creator, is to check your privilege, like literally check it. be able to stay tuned and speak the language of the people that follow you, but at the same time, do not try to, how can I say, put this, don't try to imitate them. I think that's the one thing as well. There's difference between speaking a language of your audience and imitating your audience. Imitating the audience, that's where now you become disrespectful because you're trying to copy their struggle and act as if you're feeling their struggle while you're not. So I think speaking the languages are to identify that they have a struggle, they have a level of disadvantage that they have, then incorporate that into terms of how you speak, but do not try to take that story of theirs and make it your own. So I think that's the big thing I have been able to do and I've been able to learn for the past few years.
No, that's very powerful. Very, very powerful that, even though you grow as an individual, you always make sure you are aware of the fact that you are not growing away from your audience. That should someone discover your channel now, it will still be relevant to them, despite how much you have improved as an individual, despite how much knowledge you have acquired, that you can still help them and you can still, I think I can say, relate to them and to where they are. And I think that's something, it's easy to overlook that, and it takes a lot to actually take time to make sure that you are still in tune and you still remember why you started the journey you are on. Because it's easy to forget why when you've already started going and we're already moving and we've picked up so much momentum that the momentum is carrying us sometimes, that we forget the why we started the journey we are on. And it's really amazing to hear you say that it's something that you are aware of and you are working on continuously to make sure that you are still relevant and your content is still in tune with the reasons and the why you started the journey you are on.
So one thing just to say, at the end of the day, individually, we are all brands. And to be a brand means you must be able to be in tune with your audience, whether you have content or not creating content. The fact that you are working towards a specific goal, you are a brand for that goal, and you must be an ambassador of that goal, and you must stay tuned with that goal. And that's the one thing as well. You must be able and be aware that the more you work towards that goal, you must be able to always check how are you moving, what type of audience are you moving with, and what type of people are you moving with. But that time, take what I'm saying as a content creator, then apply it as well when you are individually speaking, individually moving in your life, within your career, within your friend space. Because at the also stage, but sometimes you find someone that you grow up with, you stay with, but they're growing in a much more faster rate than you are. And that person now doesn't become in tune with the sensitivity of what you are at as a friend, or you are at as a group of students, or you are at as a colleague, and they start speaking with ignorance. And I think that's why I'm going to say it's always good to come back and check your privilege, and when you speak, do not offend. And I'm not saying be woke, be it overrated wokeness. I am not talking about that. I'm just talking about being able to stay humane and have the level of humanity as you speak and as you grow.
Yeah, I think also it's just like you say, it's being considerate and being human, understanding that obviously we all grow in different rates, we also all have different journeys as well. So that also plays a role in its own. We'll be going in different journeys, and some people uh, are not on the same journey as you as well. So you won't grow at the same pace, at the same level, and just being in tune with your privilege makes you reachable and relatable. And thank you for that. I think for me, it really resonates so much. I'm like, okay, wow, this is some really important things that one needs to check from time to time. Are you still, even though you're growing as an individual, do you still speak to the people that you grew up with who are not on the same level as you, um, with respect of who they are and where they are, or do you just now overlook them because you have grown so much and you're just not at their level? I always say levels. You gotta move up in life and stuff like that. So
That's so true.
so I think we just need to stay in tune and be aware of our privilege. So I want to ask you now, the passion that you have for what you do. I think that's one thing that struck me when I came across your content, is that you speak with so much passion whenever you speak, financial literacy, investing, budgeting, I see it, for me, it's very obvious. And I just want to know, like, where does it come from? Like, what is the why behind what you do?
A fun fact: I never aimed to be a financial education content creator. That's not my personal goal in life. It's not something I plan to do for long run. But one thing that I am is I love simplifying things. I think that's what got me into law. Is the sense of that something must be simple to understand, must be easy to use, must be easy to consume. So I think that's where the passion comes from. It's that I just naturally love simplifying things, naturally love helping, naturally love being an advocate. I think that's the one thing, being an advocate for a particular agenda, being an advocate for a particular mission, being an advocate for a particular a struggle. I think that's who I am naturally. And I think for now, at this point of time, it's just as I believe I need to be an advocate for education, financial education content, and I will push it until I reach the aim of understanding another passion that I have. Because I don't believe in one thing. I literally don't believe in being a one-rounded individual saying, I want to be a doctor and help people. That's me. I believe that I have so much career path to take, so much qualification to have, that I may have this law degree, get it, become an advocate or whatever mission I become advocate for, and next thing I may change, go to whatever, even do whatever, if it's engineering, doctor, what. I just believe that I'm an all-rounded individual that can embody and be an advocate for any specific cause at any specific time. So I believe that just now in this particular space in my time, this is a passion, something that I'm passionate about at now, and I will work toward to ensure it becomes bigger and better for now. And when the next passion comes, when the next aim comes, when the next cause come, I'll keep on pushing the next one. So that's the type of individual I am. I think that's why I'm able to maneuver the way I am and grow the way I am growing, and just always, and it's a nice thing as well, I've always been able to keep a level of audience. I've been able to keep a level of support and build myself as a brand, as an individual brand, because many people know me back before when I was a student activist. I used to be a hardcore student activist, and that was the calling at that time. That was the mission at that time, and that was a cause I was fighting for at that time. And my audience, I always understood that I would always evolve. And when I evolved to this type of individual, they followed me. And I believe I want to be that person. I am just an individual and always fight for a specific cause and always good at that fighting that specific cause at that time. So that's why, but at the same time, it's not just about taking different causes at once, fighting and advocating for different passions at once. No, have one thing, stick forward it at that particular time in your life, and then go to the next. I don't believe in being a master of of many challenges. No. That's one thing at a time for me.
True. So I think you don't want to limit yourself. You believe in the unlimited possibilities of the future. I think you strike me as that individual where you don't, even though you studied law, you don't want to think of yourself as just a law graduate, but you are open to whatever opportunities life presents to you, and you are willing and ready to take them and go full force with them and just see what leads to the next thing, and it's very powerful. Like, I think we all should be open to that.
And also the other thing as well, just to add there in that point, is that I don't believe in asking how. I don't believe in asking why. Like, I know this may sound crazy, but if I have an idea, I'm one of those people that has an idea and just do it and fail and doesn't care.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. If you can ask my friends, ask my parents, ask people around me how many ideas I've started over the years, how many businesses I've tried. For me, I just believe if I have an idea, I just do it. If I fail, okay, I fail. What the worst can happen? It's failure. You move on. So I don't believe it asking, why must I do this? How must I do it? If I want to do it, I feel I have a good gut for it, I just go out there and I do it. I feel there's something to learn in the process. Like, you can just ask people from the days of open campus, which is an agency I used to run. I had one time I used to host events. Like, there's so many things I used to do. I just do. If I fail, what the worst can happen? Failure is just failure. What else? So I think that's the thing as well, man, is people don't ask why too many times, because people focus on the why and the how, that they end up not living.
Yeah, we find the why on the way there. Like, the why, the how. As long as if you believe in your idea, I also think just get started. Once you start and once you get to the place, as you go along, you make mistakes and you learn. I think
And you find people, you naturally find people that's gonna help you along the way. Like genuinely, people just see you and see your passion, and they will genuinely come and help you along the way. You don't have to stress.
And they'll guide you along the process, and then you can just get the momentum as well. So I think for me, I'm like, this year we're not collecting any L's, we're only collecting lessons. So we shouldn't be afraid to fail, because we are grounded and fearless at the end of the day. So Ivyn, thank you so much for what you've shared. So now we've come to the part of the episode that I call the Would You Rather section. I think this is just to get to know you in a way. So I'm going to ask you 3 would you rather questions, and then you must choose which of the 2 options you prefer. If you're ready, I'll ask you the first one.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's go. The first one is, would you rather buy 10 things you don't need every time you go shopping, or always forget one thing that you need when you go to the store?
Forget one thing.
Really?
Yeah, I think I'll just rather forget one thing.
So you don't believe in spending money for things you don't need?
I'd rather forget one thing than to buy 10.
But what if the one thing is like a life and death situation, or it's something you need? You can always go tomorrow.
I think we'll see it tomorrow. See next month.
No, I hear you.
10, that's a lot.
Yeah, I think 10 is a lot. You don't even know how much these things are. Okay, then the next one. Would you rather swim in a pool full of Nutella or a pool full of maple syrup?
Yo, can I be honest? I hate both of them. So let me check which is the least one. Which is the better one? I think I'll go Nutella.
Yeah, I don't like Nutella more than I don't like maple syrup. But I'll choose.
I think I like Nutella less. I like more compared to the other.
Yeah, I think.
But I hate them both.
Yeah, I think for me, I would go with the Nutella as well, because I think it's easier to wash off. Maple syrup.
Yeah. See, that one as well.
It's gonna be a sticky situation trying to shower and remove all the syrup. Imagine your hair.
Yo.
I don't want to be in that situation. Okay, here's the next one. Now, this is gonna be interesting. Would you rather find your true love today or win the lotto next year?
They win the lotto next year.
So you don't believe?
Win the lotto next year. What they would love later, we can buy love. Don't worry, we'll buy it.
So you're choosing money over love. Okay, we see.
Yo, any day, bro. Any day, I'll choose money over love. Any day, I will buy love as we go along.
You're saying love, you'll see love later in life.
I will see love. I'm still young, bro. Yeah. Why would I need the love of my love now?
Maybe you never know.
I don't need
make
her
your life
now.
10
She
times
must wait.
better.
10 times better than no today. Did you see the latest jackpot? I think it was like 100 million rand. Like, that's 100 million rand, bro. 100 million.
So you say you never give away 100 million.
She can't make me feel like 100 million rand. She can't make me feel like 100 million rand.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's a very tricky one. I think I'll also take the money, hey? Like, hey, you can do a lot with money. Like, you can do a lot with money. You can change people's lives, man. And then they'll love you as well. So,
Dude.
I don't blame you. Well, that's the end of the Would You Rather section. It was very fun, very interesting to hear how you see things. The last question of the show, one of my favorite questions. So, what does grounded and fearless mean to you?
It means knowing where you come from.
Yeah.
Knowing how to impact where you come from. Mm-hmm. How to use the knowledge of where you come from to build where you're going.
Wow.
It literally means that to me.
That's very
literally means
very
that.
Powerful. That's all I can say. Thank you so much, Ivyn, for being on the show today. Like, it's been a really informative one. Any last words that you'd like to say to our listeners before you depart?
I think the last words from my side would be number one. always ensure that what you do align with your life goals, and always aligns what you think is best for you now as well. Ensure that when you spend your money, never ever overspend. At the same time, never ever overinvest or oversave. Always put money for yourself to celebrate and enjoy now, and always put yourself as well now as important, because you are important, and now enjoyment must be now enjoyment. So that's the one thing that I always say to people. Always put yourself first. Always put yourself first. Put your goals first. Nothing wrong with that. People say it's selfish. I call it growth. I call it growth. Yeah, that's it.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll definitely put ourselves first, self-love before everything else. And yeah, thank you so much for having us, Ivyn. And all our listeners, I'll attach
Thank you
the
so much
link.
for having me.
Oh, pleasure's all ours. And I'll be attaching the links to his YouTube account, so please go and check it out. Some great content there. So much to learn from him. And if you want to follow him, his Instagram account will be attached down below. Do the most, show Ivyn some love, as that's what we do here at Grounded and Fearless. We promote love, growth, and life. So Ivyn, thank you so much. And with that, we have reached the end of our episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and being part of the show today. Please don't forget to subscribe and follow, and also leave a review, as this helps us improve the show, and we are then able to deliver better content for you to listen to and enjoy. And so until we meet again, adios.